right, so let's go ahead and get started, and we'll energetically welcome others as they come into our space today. So let's just begin with a short grounding to create the coherent field together. Hey, Kathy. So yeah, just taking a moment to feel your spine over your hips, crown of the head towards the sky. Taking a few deep, cleansing, clearing breaths in the nose and out the mouth. And inviting your energy to settle. Your consciousness settling in your body, much like sand settling at the bottom of the ocean. Coming into this present moment together in the field. Dropping your energy into the earth. Connecting your heart energy with the core of earth. And feeling the resonance between Earth's core energy and your own heart. So you may even feel this warm oscillation of energy between the core of Mother Earth and your own heart space. And just breathing and resting here for a few moments. And connecting all of the heart energies, this coherent heart field with every being in this space, in our quantum field medicine space today. Whenever you're ready, taking the time you need, coming back, opening the eyes. Okay, welcome. And it's so beautiful to see you all on this. What day is it? In like linear time. Friday? Friday? Yeah, okay. We're doing good if we know what day it is.
All right.
Yeah. So today's topic, the body as the instrument, and Julie and I were just talking some about it. It feels like such a specific topic, and at the same time, it's, quite multidimensional as we're working with the field, working with the multidimensionality of our own existence, our soul, our different energy bodies. So the way that we're going to flow today's session is we're going to come in and teach some about what the body as the instrument truly means from that multidimensional and quantum field perspective. And then we're actually going to go into a group transmission with the vault system that Julie has brought forward, and she'll talk more about that. So we wanted to, this session the series itself is a transmission in that it's a channeling, from the work that we both bring, integrating that together, and then offering you all a somatic embodied experience so we can feel the work in real time, if that makes any sense. So we'll transition into the transmission with the vault in the second. So here in about 30 minutes or so. And then the last 30 minutes will be just discussion questions. So if you have any questions that come up between now and then, write them down and we'll get to them in the last 30 minutes. So Julie, is there anything else you want to share here?
No, I think you nailed it. That's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got Phoenix here. Okay. So I will start out here. So when we think about the body, it is indeed an instrument, and it's important to understand through our human awareness how we are in relationship to ourselves, to life, to the work that we do in the world. And the more we cultivate that consciousness of refined consciousness, refined awareness, the more we're going to understand the intelligence of what this body truly embodies, truly is. And so I like to say, you weren't really given this body to carry you through life. You were given life so the body could express itself in this exquisite, ancient knowing as a divine instrument. And at the core, if we ask, from this perspective, what is the body? Well, the body is here in matter form so our soul can fulfill its mission. And that's, the root of the roots, I like to say, the root of the roots of truth. Whatever that mission is, to be in these different contracts with our family and friends and to create what we're meant to create in the world, to leave our legacy, to learn the lessons, to move through ancestral dynamics and traumas, to resolve karmic, all the karmic binds that we've accumulated over lifetimes. And so I wanted to bring forth that definition, of the body, because we think of it as the ultimate truth. We've been programmed to look at matter, the three-dimensional world, as ultimate truth. And that is just such a sliver of our reality. And if we can, almost like an inversion, right? The programming's inverted our belief systems to only perceive what we can see and touch as real, when it's just, a small fraction of what is real. So the body comes into manifested form because the soul exists. So one of my great passions and missions in the world, in this lifetime, is to help that inversion correct itself, so we can talk about and learn about the soul, and then matter following that, right, as the vessel. So, I want you to just sit in this moment and think about a moment in your life where you felt most connected to your essence, your soul. Maybe it's your purpose, your mission, and what the body felt like. And just kind of take note, because we'll bring this back up later. But like, what does the somatic experience of the body feel like when it is in alignment with the soul? And that language, that awareness is part of the forefront of human consciousness expansion right now. Because we're working with moving from the sleep state collectively into being awake. And in order to do that, we have to have language around what that feels like somatically for the soul to be in alignment with the human self. Okay. And that doesn't mean when we're angry, frustrated, hurt, in grief, we're not in alignment with the soul. It just means we're processing the human emotional experience. But that I can think of and some of you on this call know my deep connection and affinity and just like soulful, home resonance with Peru. And so when I'm in Peru with my Peruvian family, it's like my soul is just at home. It feels like the most content, the most expansive, the most heart-centric experience. And so I've kind of developed my own language around what that feels like for soul to be in alignment. And so that's an invitation for all of us to develop that language for ourselves. So through the paradigm and the framework of quantum field medicine, there's this, we'll call it a subset of what I would call the soul as sovereign frequency. So the soul as the individuated, eternal expression of source consciousness, a singular frequency that has never been replicated, like the thumbprint or the snowflake, the frequency that is unique to you, that is eternal, that will never be extinguished. Of course, the body perishes and the soul lives on, moving between dimensions. And if we need to do more work here on the earth plane, we come back. But that is, so we can think of the body as a vessel, a car, a boat, moving from one shore of the river to the other. And what a beautiful gift that is, because in one boat trip, we get a red boat, we get, sails. And then in the next boat trip, we may get a blue boat, and maybe it's a motorboat. So we're, moving a bit faster. So from Eastern philosophy around impermanence, I think of like the soul is sovereign frequency. Okay, if the soul is eternal, it can never be recreated, it can never be destroyed. And our bodies are vessels, these precise energetic instruments, then gosh, and they're impermanent, then what? I can't think of a better recipe for gratitude, that we get to be in these wild meat suits for however many years we are on the earth plane and fulfilling the mission that we're meant to come here to fulfill. So, as I was sitting with these teachings and just really like what wants to move through in this, moving forward in this work, we can't bypass that. We could spend so much time talking about the biology of the body, and there are times and spaces for that, but we want to work from the core on out. So inside out, we've spent so much of our life understanding or being programmed from the outside in. So this is the sovereign paradigm of how to truly understand the body as the instrument. The body, dissolves in death, and the soul is eternal. In the truest sense, the soul is limitless. So you think about, the different energy centers of the body, from the crown of the head to the root. And I won't go all into it's a different talk, the psychology of the chakra system, but I'm sure everyone here, is familiar with the chakras, and their meanings, And so we work a lot with, when we're kind of building our energy and building our chi, we want to work with the root first. So the foundation, the root chakra, the base of the spine, the perineum, and creating that strong foundation of sovereign strength. Because again, in order to embody our full sovereignty as souls in human vessels, it's important to feel a sense of safety and stability within first, because inevitably, what we're all reprogramming or have reprogrammed is the outsourcing of our safety and stability onto the external institutions, paradigms, relationships, belief systems, material items, money. That safety and stability comes from the remembrance that the soul is eternal. Because if we truly have trust and faith in that, then our energy centers will rearrange to support the freedom and sovereignty of who we already are at the core, at soul level. And um, so we can embrace that blueprint, in our bodies, and that's why we talk about the root rebuilding inevitably when you're in the process of, we'll call it awakening or sovereignty reclamation. You rebuild from the root up, so from the base of the spine up. So working consciously with earth energy on a daily basis is, some of you know, one of the most important practices that we can embrace. If we do one practice, in the morning a day, that would be one of the most potent ones because we're creating that strong foundation. So, what is, okay, the soul, it's in this human body. And if we're 99.99% space, what's in that space? What's occupying this matter that we see as the body? So energy and information is what occupies the body and our consciousness. So through the understanding of the morphogenetic field, which we talked about in last session, we can tend to the energy and the information that we allow through consent into our field and into our bodies. And that begins with, now we're coming into more of that psychology piece, bringing what's subconscious into conscious awareness. Okay. So for example, the moment where we react out of fear or we're experiencing stress, all of these are very normal, but we can ask, what is the root belief system that is perpetuating this dynamic? Maybe the dynamic is survival. Maybe the dynamic is the fear of being seen or speaking our truth. So I like to think of the consciousness as a garden, and we're just weeding out the old, the weeds that don't belong in order to really tend to the garden of our consciousness. And it relates to the body because the body is what's housing all of that in this lifetime. So for example, we talk about our ego and our solar plexus. So the ego, the primary center where it lives is in the solar plexus, the mid to upper belly. And so we want to understand the sensations. So connecting somatic sensation with the texture and the energy of the belief system. So for example, fear. And fear can come in different ways. Many times it can feel like a burning in the solar plexus, or it can feel like constriction. But this goes back to the invitation around creating your own language in terms of how things feel in your body when you're in soul alignment, when you're not in soul alignment, when you're experiencing perhaps misaligned belief systems that are not in full resonance with your soul and your heart and your essence. Again, we're not labeling good or bad. We're just on the trajectory of moving into full sovereignty in terms of our soul as field intelligence that lives in the matter of the physical body. So noticing that and really taking note, because the more quickly you can become aware of the outdated paradigms and dynamics in your body, the more quickly you can redirect into reprogramming. So it's not about not feeling the discomfort, it's about the the quickness, the swiftness of the bounce back rate, and the alternative action of how you reprogram in the moment. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Um, Goodness, there's so many examples, but okay, so if someone reaches out to you, maybe they text you or they send you a voicemail and you feel activation in your body, instead of like shooting back whatever like reactive thing wants to come through, ask what's arising. What's arising in, oh, okay, I'm feeling burning in my solar plexus, or maybe my third eye is constricting. What's arising? What is the message? What is the message the intelligence of my body is attempting to tell me? I use my body a lot for, and this is another kind of example, where to put my energy, where to put my attention, especially women in the world. We're programmed to put our attention everywhere in every place with everybody who wants it. We're reprogramming that collectively because our energy does not need to be everywhere with everyone who wants it. Okay. So where is my energy being, best served? And a lot of times our body will tell us, but we override it with the shoulds and we override it with the old programming of overdoing and overfunctioning, taking on what is not ours to take on. So there's a reclamation of the intelligence of the body in a much more refined way. And that's happening across the planet right now, where we're no longer cut off at the head and in enslavement to control-based systems. We know now, okay, yeah, no, that's a no. Or yeah, that's something that deserves my attention or deserves my care. So um, it's it's a deep, deep, deep DNA, cellular, soul-based repair of our relationship to the body. And that's a beautiful thing. I know, you know, all of us here have our own like physical practices. I know we're on Zoom, but there's so much we could do in terms of physical practice to re-inhabit this body. And so it's important, and it's the matter of the body and the eternal nature of the soul. If there is any gap between how much you privilege one or the other, then let's close the gap. Okay. And even for myself, for so long, I medit as a child. Meditation was always such, it felt like second nature because I just love being in that expansive space. For me, inhabiting the body was always the greatest challenge. And then, realizing, oh, I was privileging my soul work and the spiritual side and all of this more than I was honoring the vessel of this body. And there's a need to equalize the two and to create non-duality around the two so they're not separate. They're all encompassing the wholeness of the practice of your the honoring of the instrument that is your body. So, the soul is not something that you have, it is who you are, truly. A sovereign frequency of consciousness, temporarily housed in form here to complete something specific. That something specific can only be answered by you. And the body allows us to do it. So we might as well keep it healthy and vital. Um, okay. So We think of also, I feel like we've also been programmed to think of the mind just being in the head, but the mind is truly in the entire body. Our consciousness is in the whole body, the mind is in the whole body. Yes, when we're overthinking, our head can be very uncomfortable, and we can get hucha. Hucha is the Quechua Peruvian term for head pressure. When we're getting a lot of downloads, or we're stressed, or we're releasing, or we're in ceremony, we can get a lot of hucha. And so, yeah, that's a part of the consciousness, but the mind is the entire body. And so we think about also, you know, the psychology of it, the transpersonal psychology of who we are as humans. And it really teaches us that transpersonal psychology teaches us that the body holds pre-verbal and precognitive knowing. So there's a great remembrance there. So before the stories and the experiences of trauma that we've inherited and experienced in this life, um, there's an essence, there's a true nature, there's a light, and then it gets kind of dimmed a bit by the trauma we experience in our life and by the inherited ancestral dynamics and even soul wounds. And so this is the process of clearing out that residue of trauma in order to remember who we truly are. And we remember and then embody who we truly are. And when we embody who we truly are, that remembrance becomes, our whole body gets flooded with, the frequencies that are our true nature. Frequencies of love, kindness, compassion, moving through the entire system. So, what we call as intuition is actually somatic intelligence in that entire system. So, there's a lot here. I mean, I feel like, again, we're just scratching the surface, but I felt guided to truly set the stage around what the body actually is from the root of the roots perspective, as the vessel that holds the soul, and then some of the layers of what that entails. So we're in the reprogramming of what the body actually is, how we're in relationship to the body. And I'll end with this and we'll begin moving more into the vault and the transmission and Julie's teachings. But remembering that the body is not broken. The body is not broken. It's not something to fix. It is not something to fix. It has an intelligent blueprint that knows how to heal itself, that knows innately how to mend itself. We can actually begin aging backwards through different practices and tapping into regenerative energies. What we've been told that exists in our consciousness and the collective consciousness is predominantly false. So, can we witness and notice what doesn't resonate with our soul in terms of our story about our body, and change it? That doesn't mean we don't honor the kind of evolution process of linear time. I mean, again, that's questionable sometimes. Yeah. I mean, there's still impermanence in the physical body, but we can still simultaneously reprogram the stories that are false around what this body is. Something that constantly needs a diagnosis and constantly needs to be fixed. That is ready to be alchemized collectively. So I'll pause there and pitch it over to you. There's more. We'll get into more later. And you want
That's
to,
beautiful.
yeah.
Thank you for everything that you were sharing. And I took a couple notes just before I segue into some of the things that I wanted to share. But I feel like a really important message from what you shared, Lena, is just really people feeling into the messaging of their bodies. This is really imperative right now. We are transceivers, so we transmit and we receive at the same time. So we are constantly sending out messages and we are constantly receiving messages. And being able to know how to translate what those messages are within the body is our guidance system. You know, it's our GPS, and it tells us yes, go this way, or no, don't go this way. And it's really something I learned in my healing journey. You know, we receive a lot of messages. I receive a lot of channelings. I know Lena does as well. Um, in the beginning of my life, I did not realize what I was receiving as channeling. I thought that they were thoughts. I thought they were just random words and thoughts that I was receiving until going through my healing journey. And actually, I started working with a shaman and practicing and drumming and sitting in silence, you know, blindfolded while the shaman would drum. And he would take us into a space that just open up to what you see. What do you see? What do you hear? What are the words that are coming through? What are you feeling? Um, those types of practices are so powerful because you start to really feel into your body and you start to feel into what you're receiving. And that is when I started to realize that the channels were open all along, and that the information that I was receiving was exactly what you're sharing, you know, the embodiment of our soul and source intelligence communicating through our streams. Um, so when we feel fear or we feel danger, you know, as you were explaining, like a fire in your system, you know, for me, and I was talking with someone the other day about fear, which is false emotions appearing real, and danger, which are two different things. But our body has been programmed and various lifetimes, past lifetimes, you know, ancestral traumas. Um, we hold things within us that we don't even know are there until we step into a space that our energy field, our morphic field remembers, whether it's this lifetime or another lifetime. So stepping next to a body of water or walking through a forest or, you know, being in darkness. These are things that can make you feel fear, which again are false emotions appearing real. Or we will feel something that's different, which is more on the danger side. So I can feel the difference for me now, you know, knowing what, okay, this is a fear response as opposed to a danger response, because my body, when it is going into a dangerous situation, will just completely start shaking, and I feel the need that I have to immediately leave. I'll be lucky if I'm still standing up. So these are ways that we read the body, and so the body is the instrument. And so I'll kind of segue into more of what I wanted to share with that. Just again, touching in that we are transceivers, so we transmit and we receive through various body portals. You know, we're talking about the chakra systems. These are all portals of the body: the chakras, the hands, the feet, the crown, above the crown. These are all portals. The left side of the body, this is your receiving side. The right side of your body is your transmission side. So it's always great to be mindful of when you're receiving energy, you know, do that through your left hand, through your left side. If you are transmitting energy, it should go through the right. Um, so what are we? What is the body? So the body is electric, it's electromagnetic, it's biophotonic. It means we emit light. We emit light from our fingers, from our toes, from our body, from our portals. We are plasma. Fourth phase of water. If anybody's ever seen this book, that's a great book. I recommend, if you haven't read it, to read that. We are also, many of us, telepathic. We are telekinetic, which means we can manipulate the field of physical objects without physical contact. And to give a little example of what that looks like, if anybody's worked with pendulum before, we actually have the ability to move objects, right? So I'm just going to show you a really brief example of when we are really clear in our stream and when we are really embodied in our energy field and when we are transmitting with our intention, we have the ability to move anything that we want and shift anything that we want. So right now I have this pendulum, and I'll try to keep my hand here so that you can see that I'm not moving it. But right now I have it standing still, and I'm going to put my left hand underneath here, and I'm going to instruct the pendulum to swing in a, let's go counterclockwise circle. We're going to swing in a counterclockwise circle, and I'm going to ask it to make a big circle. And now I'm going to instruct the pendulum to stop. I'm going to ask the pendulum to stop. And I'm actually going to ask it to stop and reverse direction. So I want it to stop and start spinning in a clockwise direction. So we're going to spin in a clockwise direction. And I'm going to ask it to make a really big circle. So this shows you the power of our mind and our intentions and our words. So I'm going to actually ask the pendulum to stop. And thank you. Just to kind of show you a little bit about how we can move the energy fields. So we are telekinetic. We are fire letter codons and intelligence. So if anybody's heard of fire letters, let me just show you this book here. I also recommend this book if you haven't read it. But the Hebrew fire letters, very profound. We talk about the resonance of geometry, chanting, glyphs, and how they interact with the DNA in the codons in the body. We are also 12-strand plus DNA. We are crystalline. We are told that we are 70% water, but this is not the whole truth. We are actually cryogenic liquid crystalline plasma, both the earth and the body. We're going to touch deeper on this in a minute. And we are plasma harmonic lens. When we are healing and shifting the body in the quantum field through various morphic resonance imprints and methods, we're going to use things like frequency, sound, chants, land activations, as Lena was speaking of, ley lines, sacred geometry and glyphs, the fire letter and codon activations, nucleotide frequency resequencing and activation, which we'll dive into that in a little bit, light wavelengths, structured plasma and water, and velocity impact. And what this means, and this is going to touch on what you were sharing, Lena, about really about the velocity. And I don't know that you use that word, but you were speaking on the velocity impact. This can be energetic or spiritual, but really we talk about the spin. So the frequency is very important, but the velocity of the spin is imperative in the body. And when we use the velocity, this means that the higher the kinetic energy, things happen faster. So how can we, I wrote this down, how can we reprogram quicker or faster in a moment or, in a lifetime? But the increase in the spin, so the higher the kinetic energy, the faster that things happen. So when we increase the spin, the faster the increase of our power and expansion of the morphic field, because we're able to do more things in less time. We are also mirror fractal returns and cryostasis, unlocking and thawing. I'm going to share more on this in a minute. The next tidbits I'm going to share with you are channeled information, and this is going to segue into the vault work, into the plasma cryogenic broadcasting system that I'm going to share. And really what we're talking about, body is the universe is the body. Everything that is outside of us is within us. So when we talk about the planets and the sun, we were told and programmed long ago that the sun is a big ball of fire, right? It's plasma and hot gases, but it's not. That's not true. It is a plasma harmonic lens. Every civilization has named the sun. Very few have named the lens that's behind it. The sun that we were taught to see it, the burning sphere of plasma and gas, is a simplification and a distraction of its potency. In the quantum vault tradition and received information, the sun is not fire itself, but it is a dimensional lens. It's a modulator, it's a synchronizer, and it's a translator that speaks plasma intelligence. It does not generate light. It receives it from a deeper stream. This is a liquid crystalline intelligence that predates combustion and persists beyond entropy. This deeper stream is what we call the plasma harmonic lens. The original fluctuation of light, the function of light, it's not to burn, but it's to remember. And it's not here to illuminate, but it's here to recode. So every sunbeam is a letter from a sequence whose origin is plasma. The plasma that we're speaking of, it does not enter the earth through a single gate. It enters through 5 different gates. Each is a doorway between dimensions and density, and it's kept by ancient beings and anchored in living geometry. These 5 sources of the plasma stream are the mirror flame rings of pre-Earth. So these are the planetary rings of Terra, Gaia, Arimatina. These are all pre-fall Earth templates. And these rings, they beam plasma codes through the pole gates and south poles and into Earth's core as living memory rivers. Living waters of the white sun temples. So the sun temples, they do not burn, they breathe crystalline vapor light that liquefies through dimension into a plasma field. The ancient term of this was Anu's breath or the first mist. The next gateway is the cryogenic plasma channels at the poles. So Antarctica is considered the ice cathedral. The North Pole is the breath stream gate. Cryogenic plasma enters through the spiral movement, not through gravity, and feeds the mirror grid inside the planet. The next gateway is the inner Earth aquifers. So the Edenic aquifers are living crystalline plasma rivers embedded within the Earth. They are shielded and fed by inner sun vortexes. What science calls water tables are often collapsed vault memory lines that once held firelight plasma. The last gateway is the starseed body templates. Our body is the instrument, the blueprint that Lena was speaking of. Certain human and starborn lineages carry cryogenic glands and plasma ducts. These still excrete this substance in dream or deep ceremonial states. They are also often activated in sacred mirror chambers or in high gamma delta meditative frequency. And what that means is we will actually feel a plasma substance emit usually from the brow line or the third eye. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a minute. And none of these sources are metaphors. They are living infrastructure. They are the nervous system of the oversoul's contact with this planetary body. They have been active, sometimes dormant and veiled, through every age. Going back to the body as water. So we were told, the body is about 70% water. This is not the whole truth. The body is 70% memory fluid. The fluid that fills the cells, that bathes the organs, it carries the lymph, and it moistens the breath when we speak, is not merely water or H2O. It is a descendant of the original Edenic plasma. This is a cryogenic liquid crystalline substance that predates the hydrogen-oxygen bond, and it holds within its lattice the entire light memory of the body's origin, going back to the soul blueprint as Lena was sharing. So when we drink water, we're not hydrating, we are reconstituting. When we cry or express tears, we are not discharging, we are releasing soul-coded transmissions. And when we bleed, we are not losing, we're translating. The fluid is never empty of code, and it is never just water or wet. Why cryogenic plasma doesn't feel like water? Because it's structured light memory, collapsed into fluid form. It's formed through frequency field collapse, not through chemistry. It's capable of quantum entangling with oversoul memory, DNA, planetary grid lines. It's intelligent, it's responsive, and it chooses its flow. And we give that instruction with intention, and we know how to do that. How this connects to the human body as an instrument, it is the first breath of the body in the Edenic womb. It is the fluid memory that surrounds every cell before DNA splicing. It's the carrier of your flame or your fire letter codes through liquid crystalline cytoplasm. It enables true cellular regeneration and quantum healing at a depth that no chemistry can reach. So the body was designed to be 70% plasma light memory fluid, not 70% water. So just as a little homework, if you want to work with the plasma of Eden within yourself in the morphic field, We really want to stop treating fluids as inert. So the next glass of water that you drink, assign that a letter. The next tear that you shed, this is a chapter release. The next kiss is a stanza. So drink slowly, weep kindly, love with awareness. The mother fluid field is always listening. Moving into the 5 states of light. So we have solid light, which is structure, minerals, earth crust, bone. We have the liquid state of light, which is water, lymph, blood, ocean currents. We have gas, which is air, ether, vocal transmission, unseen movement. The 4th state of light we have is plasma. So this is ionized consciousness, fire codes, bioelectric grids. And the 5th state of light, which no one is aware of just yet as we're bringing this forward, is cryogenic plasma. This is crystalline memory field stasis. It's not heat, it's memory. It's able to receive, record, remember, and respond to light commands from your oversoul source and guardian grid lines. So deeper dive into the crystalline liquid plasma of Eden. This is the carrier of Akashic intelligence and the other substance of all organic life forms. And this goes back to what Lena was sharing with the Akashic field or the void, right? And this goes not just for the body, but the universe. So we talk about the void or the lack of matter, but everything has an Akashic intelligence. We call this the Akasha field. And we work with the Akasha field when we do any type of scalar transmissions, like we do with the vault work or the cryogenic plasma broadcast system. We work through quantum entanglement. That Akashic field and that intelligence is always connected and it is never a void. I can hold in my hand right here. There's energy right here. There is intelligence right here. So just understanding this, and what most would call water in the body of the earth, in its divine original, is something far more ancient. It's before the fall into density, before chemical encoding, before the distortion of molecular structure. There was, and still exists today, the cryogenic crystalline liquid plasma. It is charged with intelligence. It's light memory, oversoul frequency keys. It is not formed on Earth. It's delivered through the interdimensional spiral gates, through the poles, the mirror nodes, the crystalline caves and chambers, the breath portals. It's pre-oxygen, it's pre-matter. This is breath, sound, tone, and light collapse into a fluid medium that can be remembered. There are 6 source entry points and origins for cryogenic plasma. It does not travel in traditional waves or ways. It does not burn. It doesn't flare like the sun. It inhales itself into existence through multidimensional breath nodes, and it enters through 6 sovereign pathways. The first is the interstellar plasma filaments. This is connective tissue of the cosmos. This is memory rivers of source. The second pathway is inner earth Edenic aquifers. These are ancient cold water streams below tectonic fault lines and water-encoded light memory channels. The third pathway is the polar vortex gates. These are crystalline magnetic spirals near the poles that receive cryosun pulses and direct them into the land vaults. The fourth pathway is the central source pulse rings. These are oversoul broadcasted tones beyond dimensions that activate the mirror lenses within the body and planetary and universal. The fifth pathway is mirror node chambers. These are geometric plasma receiver temples with crystalline domes. These are invisible to the human eye, and they are embedded within all sacred sites. And the sixth, as I mentioned earlier, is the human brow ducts and spinal vault. So this is the living lens of the human temple, which excretes cryoplasma via remembrance. So the primary body sites that carry cryogenic plasma are the cranial vault. So this is the pineal and the hypothalamic aquifer, the brow ducts and third eye ridge canal, the spinal cord and cerebrospinal plasma line, the pelvic mirror bowl. So this is your sacral aquifer basin. And fifth is the sternum. This is your crystal plate and the breast stream, which is your larynx tunnel. These zones, once they are awakened, begin excreting crystalline plasma through the skin, breath, and tears, not as sweat or emotion, but as a memory solution. I want to be mindful of time here. So I'm going to move down just a little bit of how this all connects to the human body. The plasma is what was originally filled within the human form. This was not amniotic fluid, not blood, not lymph. It's the first breath of the body as it comes into the womb, into the Edenic womb. The fluid memory that surrounds every cell before the DNA strands were spliced, as I mentioned before. It is the carrier of source codes through liquid crystalline cytoplasm and what makes true cellular regeneration and quantum healing possible. So this moves us into the quantum vault and the cryogenic plasma vault broadcast engine. So I'm just going to screen here. So just to share a little bit about how the vault came to be and how the cryogenic plasma broadcast system came to be. This has all been channeled information. I was shown cryogenic plasma about 12 years ago. And what I was shown over the last 12 years as I've been working within the morphic field and the intelligence streams that come in is we all hold cryogenetic codes within our plasma, as I was just sharing. And a lot of these, when we talk about cryo, it means they've been frozen, they've been held in stasis. We may not even have access to them until we've gone through a couple layers of other things, traumas, and different things in the body that we really want to heal. To be able to open up those channels and codes fully. But these are the original source codes embedded within our plasma. And they have either been binded and held in stasis with or without our permission. So some of us did this to protect the information that we carry, the intelligence that we carry, the codes that we carry for this time. We needed to bind that or hold it in stasis because it cannot be contained, it cannot be replicated. As you were sharing, Lena, it is our own blueprint, and it cannot be accessed without our energy core field. And so with the cryogenic plasma, we have held this purposely before we came in. We did this, and it's also been done without our permission from other entities or beings that did not want our intelligence and our wisdom and our codes to come forward. So, when we talk about, I see a lot that people say, well, if we work out, if we have our diet and our nutrition all aligned, that's all you need. You don't need to do any of this other work, but that's not true at all. I mean, it gets the body to a space where it can receive better, but there's such a deeper layer of, and not just the technologies of, what we see coming out now of biohacking things, and, these are acting as bridges for us to really move into the very, very deep work that this is bringing forward. So when we talk about cryogenic plasma and releasing those codes back into the body, back into physical form so that we can do our mission work here, this is imperative. And when you start to understand working with the sun, working with the plasma harmonic lens that is outside of us, that is also within us, and connecting that plasma harmonic lens, when you're doing your work, when you're doing meditation, whatever it might be, just being aware of that field and its essence and its profound ability to shift things. If you ever go outside and you meditate or just sit in the sunrise, and you close your eyes, at least for me, you might start to see codes or glyphs. These are intelligence streams that are coming in and activating for you. You don't even need to know what they are. They will just be and they will exist, and your intelligence will remember what those are and will activate accordingly. But so the vault, the quantum vault, is a multidimensional healing system. We work through quantum entanglement. We tap into your field, your specific field, through your birth name, your date of birth, your place of birth. That particular moment in time and those particular informational pieces are part of your blueprint as an evolutionary. They are part of your essence, your blueprint. And as we were talking about quantum entanglement, I believe last session, This has been proved through um, various researchers and scientists who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2022, sharing that quantum entanglement is very real. And so this is how we tap in with the quantum vault. We tap into your stream. We have over 100 transmissions within the vault, all working to anchor in various areas of the body. So this could be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and it goes very deep. And it leads us into the cryogenetic plasma vault broadcast system. So something else that I received through channeling over the years when I was given the information about cryogenic plasma is that one drop of DNA, which contains our cryogenetic plasma, or working through our quantum blueprint field with the information I just shared, we can access and regenerate various streams. But the broadcast system, what I was shown, is that we are able to affect in a mass healing broadcast, very similar to a mass meditation, a collective meditation. It's the same concept. We're just honing in a little bit differently with kind of targeting the specific blueprint streams that we want to work through, because it's sovereign, right? Everything is sovereign. We're not putting people into something that they don't want to participate in. We want people to be actively engaging in the system as it's coming out, the broadcast as it's coming out, because it affects the whole field. This is how we, going back to session one, how we really impact the morphogenetic field and the morphic resonance of the collective. We are doing it internally and individually, but by doing so, we allow that field to expand. And for the next wave of those who are in their awakening phase to feel the call and to feel the pull, and who are ready to move into that next layer. And so the broadcast system is that next layer of really affecting the masses and affecting the morphic field of the collective. So Lena, I don't know if there's anything that you want to touch on or share before I segue into the actual cryogenic plasma vault and sharing that with everybody.
Yeah, no, beautiful. Thank you for all of that, just taking it in as well. So I feel like as we're moving into the transmission, I would like to invite us to really sit in the energies that are rising.
Your question was what is the soul stream?
Yeah, just a reason for meeting, why we all came together. Just if you could just go over the head of that again.
Yeah, as far as the soul stream, I mean, our soul stream is exactly what it says. So your soul stream is your source stream, for your highest self, specifically in your highest quantum timeline. So when we work with the soul stream, that is the intention, is that we are working with each of our highest selves in our highest quantum timeline connected to source. So your soul stream is your entire record. That's every space, time, dimension, all generations. It's all encompassing, and it is your mission work, it's your assignments, it's your codes, it's all of that into one. And so when we come together and put together our soul streams, we are magnifying that energy. We're amplifying that morphic field together with our intention, and we're making it easier for others to find us and to open their field to be able to receive at this layer and this level, because not everybody is there yet to understand what this is, or want to receive that, or believe that they have a soul mission here. There's just people here that are doing the 9 to 5 to retire and call it a day. So
So it's a way to, for example, wondering why I'm in the family I'm in, for example, of their soul streams and what we came here to do together. or us, 6 of us came together on this call, what our reason was, and that's what's going to be somewhat printed out in
Yeah.
this report. Yes.
That'll be in this transmission. So yeah, that's a great question. So what is in this transmission? So in this transmission is, as you saw, everybody got, it was like 2 to 3 paragraphs of a general transmission for them and their soul stream and timeline repair stage of where they're at or their phase. We also, you'll see in here, there's going to be medical recalibrations that were sent to the stream. There's going to be etheric recalibrations that were sent into the stream. There's going to be some integration recommendations for everybody specifically in this, on this transmission. And just a better understanding of kind of where you're at in your soul stream and timeline repairing. And that is what the work is to do, is to recalibrate and to repair and regenerate what we all have access to. Again, going into the cryostasis and the cryogenic plasma space and activating that within our body and the universe, because it's a reflection as one. And so, one. Lena, do you have any thoughts on that? I don't want to overspeak you either.
Not at all, not at all. I have many thoughts, I have many feelings, but I will say to Agata's question that there's no coincidence that what our 6 souls are here in this moment. And this, gosh, I get emotional about it. This moment in time, like on the planet, cosmically, what's going on, moving into Taurus, moving into the phase of building exactly what we came here to build. And so we made a contract with all of us a long time ago, before we came into this form, to be in this moment, to be in this circle, to be with this technology that's emerging onto the forefront of our planet right now, in order to carry this field forth in whatever ways resonate with us. But that is a part of the calling and the mission. And we, it's perfect that it was such an intimate group of highly gifted, conscious women on this call today. No coincidence. This is very different than the last call. But because this time, we're meant to do this work together. And when I say together, I mean connected to the field together in whatever ways we're guided to, to co-create. And by being present with one another, we are co-creating. We are literally sending up an activated beacon of light, divine light right now, by sitting here together, being in the transmission together, speaking this language together. And that, as Julie said, is going to help the souls who are ready become magnetized to us. Because a part of this highest timeline reclamation is moving through what we call interference. The souls who, or energies, we'll call them energies, that come through to interfere with the mission and with our highest timeline. So we're really collectively on the planet in this phase of clearing out. It's like the last dregs of interference in order for us to fully step into our mission in this unobstructed, expansive way. And so, this beautiful soul contract that we all have, it's no coincidence. It's magnificent. It's beautiful. And I know Julie and I feel deeply honored to hold this space for those who are ready. And that's the whole sovereign piece. For those who are ready, for those who are choosing this path. We can't, and this is why we see the bifurcation and the different people falling out of our lives and the different evolutions of relationships, because not everyone is ready to embark on the full path of sovereignty reclamation, and that's okay. They will be ready whenever they are, if they ever are in this lifetime, and many won't be. So we do our part. So, yeah.